You got it.
Okay. All right. So good morning. Today is the spring equinox, officially at 5:24 p.m. and like 40 something seconds. So the spring equinox happens when the sun moves into exactly 0 degrees of Aries. It is the first of the year according to Torah. We actually read that in this past week's Parsha in Vayakhel. There's the commandment about the first, the first moon of the first month is the beginning of the year. So that's Rosh Chodesh, Nisan, which actually is happening tomorrow. So the spring equinox and the Rosh Chodesh and the new moon are happening together this year, which is usually not the case, but kind of a nice little synchronicity. It's about bringing something new, but it's also about balance because the sun, first of all, the equinoxes are when there's exactly even amount of daylight hours and nighttime hours, right? Whereas the solstices, it's the shortest day of the year or the longest day of the year. The equinoxes, it's completely even number of daylight hours, sunshine, and number of darkness. And the sun and the moon being together at this time this year is actually really interesting too, right? That the two luminaries, and we know there's a big midrash about, the moon saying to God, how can you create two great luminaries to be equal? That just doesn't seem right. We can't have co-rulership, in an equal way. That'll never work to be fully balanced and fair. One should be a little bit bigger or more important than the other. So the story is that God says, okay, thanks for the suggestion. I'm going to diminish your light. You are only going to shine at night by the grace of the sun, which is going to reflect. So you're going to reflect the light of the other. But the moon it's not really a punishment. The moon is like moon, the moon affects everything on earth. The tides, our everything, we're all water. It affects everything, water, all of life. And the moon is given governance over the darkness and over the stars and over the cosmos, right? Where the sun is like visible by day. Anyway, so this idea of sun and moon is very integrated into Hatha yoga practice, which literally means that. Hatha is sun moon. It's the active principle and the receptive principle. It's the same thing as the yin yang, which I'm wearing on my shirt today. I'm wearing my balance shirt with all my yin yang symbols, right? It's about these two different energies, the light within us and the darkness within us. What is clear and obvious and overt and active, and what is sometimes a little bit more, internal and not so obvious, or we don't always even see it for ourselves. It's a little bit more in shadow. It needs time to reveal. It goes through these cycles of so we're going to play today in the practice with balance and what that looks like physically in the body when you're balancing on your one foot, on your hands, but also balance in our breath, balance, especially in our attitude that we bring towards doing versus being. What we put out and actively go versus how we draw back and let ourselves be in a more passive state of just noticing or being in awareness. So we'll play with both of those things. All right, we're going to start with a little breath practice, and this is called vritti breath. Sama means even or equal. So this is a breath practice where we're going to count. And this counting could be at your own pace. So it might feel like an inhale and you're counting in your mind 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to exhale to the same kind of pace. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your breath may be faster, it may be slower, but whatever you do on the inhale is the same pace and rate you want to do on the exhale. So you're creating this sense of that whatever I'm bringing in, that inward flow is exactly even and balanced with the outward flow. Okay, any questions on that? I would rather not breath count for you. I'd rather you find your own breath. I will say that after you do at least a good minute or two of the just even breathing and see what happens. If your mind gets lost and goes somewhere else and gets distracted, just bring yourself back. Keep bringing yourself back to observe the in breath, the out breath, and let it feel maybe like this oceanic flow of the tide coming in and the tide coming out, right? Feel that the inhale, maybe it's buoyant, it's bright. The exhale is like this, darkening, shrinking, whatever works shows up for you, let yourself go with that, but have it be even. After a little bit of sitting with that, you can add the pause between the inhale and the next exhale, and between the exhale and the next inhale, and let those also be even to each other. They don't have to be as full even as the breath. If you're doing a 6-count breath, you might not want to do a 6-count breath retention, pause. It might be a 2-count pause. So do what works. It might look like a 4-count in, a 2-count pause, a 4-count out, a 2-count pause. Understood? Okay. I'm going to be quiet. Let's just breathe for 2 or 3 minutes.
One question is, when you breathe out, is that through your mouth or through your nose?
So yogically, usually you're breathing in and out through the nose. But I would also say make this personal for you. So if that feels uncomfortable or if that feels less accessible for whatever reason, then you can, mouth breathe as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'll invite you to close your eyes. And you can first just get settled in the body. You can take some movements if you need. Let yourself feel your sit bones grounding down, whatever else is touching the earth. And even first notice if you're balanced sort of between front and back. So sometimes we have a tendency to kind of lean our weight forward, So see where you feel like if you're really on the front of the sit bones, can you draw more weight so you feel evenly supported between the front and the back of the body. When you hit that right spot, it feels like everything just drops in like a plumb line down to the earth. It just stacks. And then you can begin your vritti breathing practice. You want to play with light and dark. After your inhale, on that pause, you can imagine yourself being very filled with light, sunshine. And on the exhale, as you pause, you can imagine yourself being filled with moonlight. And then just for the sake of checking in, I'm going to ask you to just check in internally with the whole right side of your body, as if you drew a line from the crown of the head all the way down through the tailbone, just divided your body in half. Just stay with the right side of your body. And just bring your awareness to what's happening in the right side of your brain, right ear, neck, shoulder, throat. Right rib cage, the right lung. Whatever organs are in there in the right side, your right hip, right leg, ankle, foot. And notice, even just by drawing awareness to that one side, if there's a difference in texture, temperature, color, sensation from the right to the left. And now do the same with the left side. Just do a body scan down the whole left side of the body. Then bringing yourself back together, right? Reunifying these parts of yourself, and sit here whole, complete, balanced. Inhaling into the whole body, filling the whole body. Exhaling. And you can bring your hands over your heart for a moment. Just sit with this kavanah, this intention for the practice, asking this question: where in my life do I want to create more balance, more evenness, more wholeness? And as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Let's start standing today. Okay. Yeah, it's chilly this morning, right? You have to, like, oh no, take off the socks. All right, let's just start in Tadasana, which is just a balanced standing pose. It really is about balancing. So I want you to first spread your hands, spread your fingers, and then kind of hold them down in front of you so you can see your fingers, and then spread your toes so that we can take up space. Good. Now you can place the toes back down to the floor, relax the arms by the sides, but I want you to lean forward in your body. So like your weight is coming forward towards your toes, right? That feeling of, whoa, I have to grip my toes because I may fall. You could feel your knees start to lock out. Good. Now I want you to lean back. That feels a little weird and scarier. Your belly instantly wants to grip to prevent you from falling backwards. And again, your knees lock out. Maybe your tush locks out. That feeling of, I don't want to fall, I don't want to fall, but the weight is in your heels. Good. Now make those motions smaller and more subtle, and just sort of rock back and forth ever so slightly from the toes to the heel. And come into, you can close your eyes for this. come into the place that feels centered and balanced over the feet. Interestingly, the Hebrew word for balance is ozen, which is the same word for ears. And you know that your ears have a lot to do with proprioception and balance, because when we're off kilter, we feel it. Our ears like keep that homeostasis and equilibrium point for us. Which is interesting because Nisan, the first month of the year, is the month of Aries, which is associated with the head, Rosh. It's Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. And the head and the feet are connected in creating balance. So that's a funny thing too. Okay, from here, let's take a side bend. So you can take your right arm out to the side, and then you can just kind of, I like maybe bring it down your side, slide it down your side, and just lean towards the right, but you're shifting the hip out towards the left. Good. Keep your belly engaged here, a little bit of a Kegel, belly's drawing in. And notice what happens with the feet, how the left foot wants to get light and almost lift up off the ground. And all the weight is in the right foot. But see if you can rebalance by pressing down into the left big toe, the left inner heel. Notice what that does. Instantly, your inner thighs start to engage when you do that, which sets up more strength. Maybe that gives you more stability. Maybe it gives you more stretch. Good, good. And come up to the center. Close your eyes for a moment and just feel internally the difference between the right and left side of the body now. You're probably noticing that that left side feels way longer and more open than the right. It might look brighter, lighter. The right side might feel heavier and more dull. All right, let's go to the other side. So you can bring the left arm out to the side first, but then just kind of stretch yourself around, drop that arm down. You'll start to feel the stretch out of that right hip. That right arm can come up. If you have any kind of shoulder injury and it's not okay for you to bring your arm up, you could just keep it wherever you need. You could bring it behind your back or behind your head. Lots of variation. What we're really going for is the lengthening and stretching here. Good. And now push down more through the right foot. Don't you feel that instantly? It's amazing. The second you push down through the right big toe, you immediately start to feel even more of a lengthening out of the side waist and the hip. Good. Good, good, good. And come back up through the center. And let's one more time, just close your eyes and feel how energy is showing up in the left side and the right side of the body. All right, let's take hands to the heart. We're gonna go up onto tiptoes. Let's just see what happens. So you're just going to lift up onto your tiptoes and do all of your wiggles and wobbles and see where your body goes this morning. Yeah. So we're just waking up, which is a big theme of the spring equinox. Everything is heating up, waking up. Everything that's been lying dormant and asleep over the winter is starting to come back to life and re-emerge. That is really the essence of this time of year. And that connects really well with the Pesach story. Bring your arms out to the sides now, lower your heels. You're gonna spin your arms behind you, take them behind your back, just clasp the hands together and reach your elbows towards each other, triceps towards each other. Actually, biceps, sorry. Yeah. Good. Open up the chest, stand up taller. Good. If your neck is nice and healthy, maybe as you slide the hands down your back, you can shift the hips forward slightly. Maybe you can open the throat, a little bit of a front body opener, squeezing those shoulder blades together. And then as you exhale, bend the knees, let your torso drop over your thighs, let your arms reach up overhead. Take that nice stretch out of the low back. Relax your chin to your chest, drop the crown of the head. So the Passover story is the Exodus is a story of renewal. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and then
everything changed and we re-emerged brand new into a new life, into freedom, into a peoplehood. Good. Slowly come on the way up. Release the arms. All right. Let's do a few sun salutations, but we're going to do actually a sun salutation and a moon salutation. So the sun to honor the sun, and then the lunar salutation to honor the moon, because we're at both of those. So bring your hands to your heart. Good. Inhale, the arms sweep up like you're rising that sun up overhead. Exhale, you sweep the arms back down, lower your head towards the floor. Inhale, halfway up for that nice flat back, belly in. As you exhale, fingertips come to the floor. Step your right leg all the way back. Bend your left knee. Inhale, up. Victorious, nice and strong, powerful, active. This is our sun salutation. We take the lunge. Good. And exhale, bring the hands back down to the floor. You're going to step your front leg back to meet the back leg. You're in a plank pose. You're going to lower down if you need to, knees first. Then lower, bend the elbows. Lower your chest towards the ground. Untuck the toes. Inhale for a cobra pose. Low cobra, just squeeze those elbows towards the midline, integrating the back body. Good. As you exhale, come up over hands and knees, tuck toes, and you'll come into your downward facing dog. Good. We'll just pause and take some breaths here in the down dog and see if you can come back to that even breathing whenever we take a pause, and find that evenness and see how that feels in your body, in your brain. Your breath may be audible to you with the constriction in your throat in this pose, the Ujjayi breath. And that has that sound of an ocean, rolling in, rolling out. On your next inhale, gaze up between your hands. On your exhale, you're stepping that right foot all the way back to the front of the mat. Good. Inhale, big inhale, lift you all the way up into the lunge. Good. As you exhale, bring the hands down to the floor. Step your back leg up on the inhale, lengthen your chest. Exhale, fold down over the legs. Inhale, rise all the way up overhead. And exhale, hands back to the heart. Okay. The lunar salutation is a little different because instead of being so active and everything in this kind of straightforward and back direction, we're going to go off on some angles and we're going to lower down and get more into the hips. More lunar, moon is more feminine. The solar is more solar plexus, like active, fire, fire. And the moon is more womb-like. So we'll go into that. Okay. So hands can start at your heart. You're going to inhale the arms up overhead. As you exhale, side bend to the right. Inhale up overhead. Exhale, side bend to the left. Inhale up to the sky. Exhale, fold down over the legs. Good. You're going to, I'm going to use a blanket because of my knee, but you're going to step your right leg back, but this time instead of standing up for the lunge, you can drop your knee to the floor. And you're staying here in a low lunge with the knee to the floor. Yeah, good. From here, you'll come up for a low lunge. If you want to bring your arms up here, you can. Yeah, but you're not sitting back here into the back knee. You're trying to really draw the hips forward. Yeah, so we get that arcing. It feels very lunar, right? This kind of crescent, the roundness of that. Good. You can bring your arms up. Good. As you exhale, you'll just step the knee back. Come into a child's pose for a moment.
And do your even breathing here in your child's pose, filling the back body with breath. As you're ready, you'll come up onto your hands and knees. Good. And now you can just take your opposite knee forward. So you'll step the left foot forward. What did we do? Right? Sorry, I'm all turned around because I'm changing directions on you. So yeah, so take the right foot forward. So now your left knee is down in the lunge. Good. And again, trying to shift those hips forward, deepening into the stretch. Good. And if you want to come up a little higher, you can. You can take your arms up. You can also take your arms behind you. Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot. Let's see what you think, Sam. Good. Nice. And from here, you'll bring the hands back to the mat. Let's take one more child's pose in here. As you're ready, you'll come to hands and knees. You can lift up into a downward facing dog. Good. And then you'll just walk your feet up towards your hands. Let yourself fold over the legs. Slowly roll yourself up to stand. Let's finish with one more side bend. So just again, coming side bend to either side. And lowering the hands down. All right, let's do a little bit of a standing balance series. And we'll play with this. Another way of thinking of like the sun moon energy is effort and surrender. Where are you efforting? Where are you being strong and intentional and engaged? And what doesn't need to be working so hard that you can let go of? So trying to think of both of those things and how do we hold those equally? Like I can be doing the work, but I can also be relaxed about my work. I can be intentional, but also calm, right? So we're going to try to do both. All right. So here's how we're going to start. You're standing nice and tall in our two-legged balance. Okay. So, and we know that this involves balance. It's not lazy, like, standing any which way. Like find your feet, spread across the toes, spread across the heels. That weight from the front of the toes to the back of the heels, you can kind of find yourself centered again. Right? See how that sets up a tall spine, an integrated belly. Good. From that strength, now we're going to go off center here. You're going to lift the right foot up off the floor. Yeah. So, right, we instantly start swaying and moving and trying to readjust. That's great. That's the body's way of saying, oh, okay, something shifted me out of equilibrium. I'm in this state of disequilibrium. What can I adjust and adapt to bring myself back to balance, right? Even bringing the hands together at the heart actually really helps because it's like, oh, yes, I'm trying to find that midline. I'm trying to come into center. Yeah, good. From here, bend the standing leg as well, and you're just going to pivot forward so that back leg extends out behind you. It doesn't have to look like a perfect letter T, even you can lower a little. This knee can stay bent, the standing leg, but wherever you are, and if it helps you to bring your arms out to the sides, you could do that. Airplane arms to balance. I like the variation of bringing my arms back towards that back extended leg with my palms facing open towards the ceiling. That just lifts the shoulders back up and it keeps the lungs and the chest open. Good, and then from there, I'm gonna lift my back leg back up in front of me. I'm gonna give it a little hug.
Stand up nice and tall. Give a little squeeze to your standing glute. That's gonna give you some strength and help you lift upright. Good, and then lower that leg down to the ground. That was great. Good, did we like that? Okay, good. Let's do the same thing on the second side. So first find two-legged balance. Close your eyes for a moment. Just like, again, feel where your body is in space. Are you leaning forward like when we were sitting too? Like what would it feel like for your head to feel completely balanced above your shoulders? Come back into the breath again. Feel yourself filling. Right. Good. All right. Now you can open your eyes and lift that left foot up off the ground. Good. Just find the balance here. Wow, everybody's doing so much better on the second side. Because we're like calm, right? When we're first thrown with a balance, it's like throwing us like a, fish out of water, like, wow, we're flopping around. But then you come into this awareness of like, oh, I can be calm and balanced at the same time. All right, slight bend in the standing leg. You're pivoting back to that version of a warrior three standing pose. And find a gaze that lets your head feel balanced, lets your arms, wherever your arms want to be. Yeah. Check in with your breath. And then you'll bring the knee back forward again and clasp your fingers around that. Stand up nice and tall. So what's the energy of your mind right now? Right? You're being strong. You're standing on one leg. Not an easy thing to do. But are you doing it with an ease as well? Right? That solar and lunar, feeling like they're both in you equally at the moment. And lower down. Okay. All right. Let's do a little bit of a balance on hands. Let's do a different kind of balance. Are we okay with shoulders? Could we do some like side plank stuff? Yeah. All right. Let's do it. So come into your downward facing dog. Good. And from your down dog, I'm going to ask you to do something funny. Just put all your weight into your right hands and right foot. Feel what that feels like. It actually might feel good as a stretch into the low back or into the shoulder. You might become aware of where something's tight. That's okay. And then shift over to the other side. Put all your weight into the other side. Good. Now come back into the center and put even weight into both hands. So really feel your palms, your fingertips. Good. Feel both shoulders pulling back away from the hands, lengthening. Feel both hips lifting up and back. Feel both heels stretching, yearning towards the floor. Good. From here, you'll inhale to a plank pose. Plank is just Tadasana. This is a balance pose. We're balancing on our hands and our, feet and toes. Yeah, good. We're gonna make this more challenging. You're gonna roll your heels over to one side. Yeah, and one could be out in front of the other. And you're balancing on your hand. Shoulder is stacked slightly behind the wrist, not beyond the wrist. Okay. And then the other arm can come up to the sky. Yeah. If you want to be a little more challenged here and you have the balance and the strength to do it, you can take that leg that's forward and stack it evenly on top of the other leg. That's a little harder. Good. Try to keep lifting that side waist up. This is more of that that arcing kind of angle. If you want to take that top arm long over the head, you can do that. That makes this feel, again, a little bit more of that feminine. Good, 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 good. And then you're gonna roll back to your plank pose. Feel how much easier a regular plank feels now. If you'd like, you can take a few push-ups here. You can also lower down to the belly. You can take a cobra, decide what it is you need for a moment. You can just rest with your palms and your forehead to the ground. So rest is part of balance, right? From action. We do act and get strong, and then the resting is just as important, you know, to give us that coming back. All right, when you're ready, downward facing dog. We're gonna take that side plank to the other side, so you know which side you did. Good, so from your down dog, you can come forward to your plank and just get strong here in your plank for a moment. Pull your belly in and up, lengthen your head, reach your heels back. Feel really strong and integrated. Feel your inner biceps kind of drawn towards each other. Good, and then from there, you can roll the pose to the side and set yourself up to start. Get strong in that arm. You're not locking out the elbow, you're keeping strong muscle. And then maybe you stack the feet. Maybe you take that top arm long and play with a little bit of that arc in the sideways. And then coming back when you're ready, and again, taking anything you need. Child's pose is a completely valid option, or any other strong core you want before that. All right, let's do, do you guys want to play with a little bit of a an arm balance? We don't really do arm balances that often in this class, but do we want to try? It's core. Arm balances are really about core. All right, I'm going to show you. Let's just, do you happen to have blocks? Do you have 2 blocks? You could do this on the floor as well, but if you, oh, everybody has 2 blocks. So happy. Okay, great. Great, great, great. Okay, so we're just gonna sit, just take a nice seated pose and put blocks to either side of you. Okay? Good, good. So the first thing we'll do is just take your right foot in your hands and your right leg and just kind of, let's open up the hip a little bit. Yeah. Good. Good, and you can place that leg down and take the other one and do the same thing. Good. And then let's just take a forward fold here just to stretch out the low back and the hips. Fold wherever you can go. Since I know you have your blocks nearby, you can use those if you want out in front of you. And just notice again, right side, left side, what feels open, what feels more closed, just noticing. Okay, now, here's what I want to show you. You're going to take the blocks next to your hips and you're going to place your palm, they're going to be on the flat, like this level, the flat, the flat wide level. Palms to the blocks. So we're elevating the floor, which is great. And you're just going to press into your hands and blocks to lift your hips up. Yeah. And you can just stay there. That's core. Pull your belly in, a little bit of a Kegel, strong belly, squeeze the belly, squeeze the belly, squeeze the belly, lower back down. Okay. Next stage, phase 2. And this is why the hips help. If you can get one leg on top of the other, that's going to help with the weight. Okay.
The easiest version of this is if you have a full lotus, right? If you have a full lotus, this is like the simplest pose in the world to do. It's called scales pose. Because the double lotus, that if your hips are that open, it just locks you in. But even if it's okay, the bottom leg is a little bit of dead weight. So that's where your core really has to work, right? So if you have one leg on top, one leg on the bottom, you're going to press down, lift your hips. And really what you're trying to ultimately do is see if you could lift that bottom leg up too. This is strong core. This is all about core. And it's okay if that bottom leg doesn't want to lift up, but even the trying to is this pulling in. Okay, switch legs, switch the one that's on top so that we're even and try both sides. Oh, I'm happy I gave you something new today. We've never done this. Okay, so take your hands out in front of you, make like little ducky hands and just circle. Yeah, because I know that that's a lot in the wrists to put all the pressure on the wrists, but it's worth it. This is fun. This is like new and different, and it's getting your core going. Okay, all right, last round. Hand to the block. Good. You're gonna press down and you're gonna see if you can lift that bottom leg up. If you can get there, or if you had the lotus or whatever, you can just kind of like rock back and forth. Even if the bottom leg is on the floor, oh, try that. Even with the bottom leg on the floor, try rocking back and forth. This feeling of like, oh, okay, I understand like what needs to work there. Good, let it go. Let it go, let it go. Bring both legs out in front of me. Was that fun? Did we like that? Okay. Let's just take, you have your blocks in.
Hey, Robin. Sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. So I was just noticing when I do that, because I really had never done that before, I feel like I'm leaning back when I then lift up. Is that right? Or should I be?
Leaning back is good because that lifts the core. When you lean back, the natural body response is to elongate through the pelvic floor up through the core and open the chest. So that's the natural way to engage the core. When you lean forward, you're relaxing the belly.
So it's
Right?
okay.
So that's your body's way of saying, oh, my belly needs to work here. I need to lift and lean back. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay,
It's all right.
thanks.
Okay. Let's do, how are we doing on time? Do we want to do a little bit? I think we did okay, kind of balance. Let's do this. Oh, this is one of my favorite poses. This is asymmetrical, but then we'll do one side, then the other. Okay, so you're gonna take, I'll show you from sort of a side angle. You're gonna bend your left leg in, reach your right leg out to the side. Good. Let's start with a little bit of a twist. So get up really nice and tall. You're going to twist around towards that left. You'll feel this as a big stretch in that right inner thigh. Good. Lift belly in. So here you'll feel like you're leaning back also, right, Sam? So in the twist, there's a feeling of like, if I'm just leaning forward, I'm not lifting my belly, I'm collapsing. So this feeling of if I lift up really tall and then I'm twisting, I almost feel like I'm leaning backward. That's elongating and engaging the belly in and up. Good. Okay, from here now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start side bending towards that leg. Now, this arm can either stay on this thigh, it can turn this way and come to the inner leg here. It could sit up on a block, whatever I need to bring this arm. Yeah, I mean, the bringing it on the thigh keeps you a little bit more engaged in the twist and a little bit of weight on this hip. But this also, either one. So, good, you're here. And now you're still feeling the inner thigh stretch. You're feeling a twist in the belly. You're feeling an opening in the sideways. And the last piece of this puzzle is you can bring this arm overhead, take your palm as if you're pushing into a wall. Push your palm forward. And that can help you ground down that opposite hip so that the left sit bone is still really on the floor. You can also bring that palm behind your head and kind of just lean back. And you'll just feel that as an amazing opening twist in the sideways, in that back hip. And breathe. Now, this is not an even pose at all. This is such an asymmetrical pose, right? We're really working very specific parts on one or the other side of the body here. And you can feel it, like right now, your left lung is so open and your right lung is totally contracted. Yeah. Good. If you want to reach over towards that leg, you could do that. But without lifting this hip up. Good. And then slowly peel yourself up and just stay for a moment. Sitting upright, just notice. Come into that calm, even breath again as you notice your inner environment. All right, we'll switch sides. Sanskrit term for this pose is Pavrita Janyu Shirshasana. It's revolved head of knee pose. So it's a lot going on. So first we're gonna revolve. So sit up tall. Yeah, sit up tall, get the spine long, and then revolve away from the extended leg, twisting towards the bent knee. You're inhaling, drawing everything in and up. Exhale, brings you out. We'll definitely work on more twists in the next 2 weeks as we prepare for Passover and clearing out the chametz. But for spring equinox, it's a fabulous time to start waking up that fire, that feeling of, okay, I need to do my spring cleaning. I need to get ready for something new. In balance, right? We're not in full fire mode yet. We're not in summer mode. We're like halfway, 1 foot out of winter, 1 foot into the spring. Good. From here, you're going to keep the twist through the belly as you then side bend over, leaning the head towards or past the knee. So there we go. And again, that palm can either stay to the thigh, it could come to the inner leg, and that backhand could also be used as a little counterweight on that thigh. Good. You might feel this as a really nice big stretch out of the low back, out of the outer hip, inner thigh. And then once you extend that arm overhead, you'll certainly be feeling it throughout the whole rib cage and the lung, right side. Slowly bring yourself back up. Let's bend that extended leg, bring both feet together. And either the feet could be in close if your hips are nice and open now, which the inner thigh should be more open than usual from those poses, or you can extend your legs forward of you. It's all fine. Find what is feeling right for you and just take some circles, any motion that feels good here. You can also just stretch yourself forward. All right, come on down onto your back. So we'll take a little bit of core again, because of fire. So you can bring your palms at your low back and like under your tailbone if that helps and supports you. You're going to bring both knees, feet up off the floor. The knees are in alignment over the hips. Yep, you're going to try not to bring the knees in closer to the chest. You're going to try to keep them here at that, perpendicular. Okay, starting with, depending on your like your strength,
You could do one leg at a time where you're keep the left leg where it is. You're gonna drop the right toes towards the ground, but not super close towards your tush. You're leaning it the farther forward away you're going, the longer that lever arm, the more core control you have. So one at a time, the toe reaches forward, touches down. Good. And you'll feel this as, oh, that's the right side of my belly engaging. That's the left side. So really feeling that. So doing one side at a time. Good. Trying to keep the belly drawing into the back of the spine, keeping the back, the low back pressing down on the ground. Good. Now, if that was enough for you, you can continue with that a little longer. If you want to do 2 legs at a time, that's obviously harder. So you may need to get a little extra boost there. Good. And now if you want to add a little bit of a lower belly, like hip raise, you could do that. So you tap the toes down. This time as you bring the knees in, you can bring the knees closer over the chest and try to elevate your hips up off the floor. As you lower down, those feet touch forward again and lifting up. Yeah. Good. That looks great, guys. Can you slow it down? Right? Sometimes we want to speed up, speed up, speed up, and the momentum helps, or our mind gets really racy and that helps, you know. But what happens if we try to slow down, slow, steady, strong? Good. And when you're ready to be done, you can just stop and hug your knees into your chest. And now I'll invite you to take anything else you need for your practice to feel complete. You can take a legs up, a happy baby, a shoulder stand, whatever works for you. Awesome. Take as much time as you want and need in your practice. And when you're ready, you can find your Shavasana. And possibly coming back to this even some vritti breathing as a way to find the evenness in your active and receptive kind of energy this morning. Maybe coming back to your intention about where in your life you would
benefit from more balance, more wholeness.
As you're ready, you can take a big inhale, stretch through your fingers and toes. Even the way we bow to the left and the right and then the center when we say, you know, the Oseh Shalom at the end of a Kaddish, right? It's like honoring the sun, the moon, the wholeness, and the integration of both. So, Oseh Shalom b'mamav, Kuya Oseh Shalom Aleinu, All Yisrael, El Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Imru, Amen. Sorry, my words aren't coming out. I like. I hope you have a peaceful day. Enjoy the equinox. It's an auspicious time if you can set an intention, the seed of an intention for the new year, for the Rosh Hashanah at 5:24 p.m. 5:24
Uh,
p.m.
Thank you very much, Robin.
Robin.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Robin. Great. Thank you.